Hey guys, it's Joe and Chuck with VMP's Wednesday live show. It's not Tuning Tuesday. It's not Burnout Box.
Nope.
It's the live show. Don't ask
New
us.
and improved.
New and improved. We changed stuff up for you guys. I don't think we did a show last week, did we?
We didn't.
Yeah,
Took a
we're
week
really
off.
changing it up.
We're failures. I apologize.
No, not failures. We were just building anticipation for a whole week.
Now we were really freaking busy.
Yeah. Do you have time for this? No, absolutely not.
But the busy is a good thing because we're selling a lot of parts and we're testing a lot of parts, making lots of horse pressures.
Dynoing cars and
Mm-hmm.
kind of all the above.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's all good things.
So, we dropped a video. Fuel system.
Yeah, that's been a freaking project.
Yeah, project and a half, I'd say.
It has been. So we had a fuel system previously,
Mm-hmm.
and amidst COVID, we kind of ran into like some back orders and supply issues. So we were like, you know what, this is a good time to go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
So our friends over at Injector Works, we've been working with them on some other stuff, and we were like, hey, what about a fuel system?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually flew up to Oklahoma, met with DW guys, and we did a video there. If you look back on our YouTube channel, you could find it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't talk a lot about why I was there, but that was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward 6 months from then, we have a fuel system.
Nice.
Yeah, we worked with them to partner on some really exclusive things with like only OEM style bucket in the marketplace, which we kind of noticed on our old kit was a problem at low fuel levels, especially under like heavy cornering, heavy acceleration or deceleration.
Mm-hmm. With
So-
low fuel levels, but yeah.
Yeah, with low fuel levels.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the bucket takes away from that, so we don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. Because lean issues on a supercharged car,
Not ideal.
not ideal. So that, and then really easy routing for plumbing the fuel system in your car. Everything comes assembled, true plug and play, not like IKEA
Mm-hmm.
plug and play, but like real plug and play.
Yeah.
And yeah, so a lot of work and effort, but it's done,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really satisfied with it. It's nice and pretty and red, even though you'll never see it after you install it. But
Yep. All hiding underneath the seat and stuff.
uh-huh.
So what platforms does it work on?
Well, Joe, it's a great question.
Because they're going to ask.
We have an 11 to 17 kit
Mm-hmm.
for the Coyote, and we also have an 18 plus kit for Coyote.
Mm-hmm.
And a little birdie told me that 13 to 14 GT500 is coming very soon. So currently available, 11 to 20. There are two different part numbers. If you're 18 plus, it's one part number. Things are a little bit different, not too crazy.
Yeah.
And 11 to 17 are another one. And the pallets have shown up, so they are in stock and ready to ship.
Yeah.
There's nothing like designing a new product amidst a pandemic.
Yeah. And all of the, like something that would have normally taken us like a month or two to get done.
Yeah.
6 months.
Hey, what's the lead time at the machine shop on the hats? 18 weeks? Wait, what?
What?
What'd you say?
So yeah, lots of benefits, lots of features. So we're doing the wiring harness similar to how we were doing it previously.
Yep.
Triggers just like a factory fuel pump does. So key on it, primes for like 2 seconds, it shuts off. And when you get in an accident, if your fuel system shut off, it'll shut off. Doesn't run at key on to where you got to worry about it draining the battery. Yeah, all the good features that Ford thought of are still maintained.
Yeah, which is important. Safety is important. And, you know,
Because no one ever wants to wreck one of these cars, but it can happen, and you want to make sure that if a pinched fuel line is leaking, that it's not
your pump's
given
not-
constant pressure draining the tank
You're
with
not- you're not
a
running-
14-gallon puddle of fuel under your car.
Right, you're not back there running two 465s at max pressure for 30 seconds.
I wonder how long it would take to drain a tank if the pump was just running.
You could do the math, I'm sure.
I'm sure we could figure this out. I guess it depends on how big the leak is.
Right.
But yeah, it won't take long, and then you'll have 14 gallons of, well, technically 17 or 15, not 17, 15.7. So like I'm doing the assumption that you at least use some of it before you wrecked.
Right.
You didn't wreck at the gas station
There was
when you
some
filled up.
gas involved in getting you to that point.
But yeah, so you don't have to worry about that amount of fuel sitting underneath you. It's just until the metaphorical inertia switch, because I don't think they have a physical one in those cars. It's all,
Yeah.
I think it's done through the body control module or something. But yeah, you don't have big puddles underneath you when your pumps run all the time.
One interesting point I'd like to make is, well, first of all, the kit supports, we made like 1050, we made like 1070 on the dyno with it, but we found out, and we're pretty transparent about this. We found out that at the track it just wasn't enough, but we went to the twin 525s and solved that issue. But I would say reliably 1,000 horsepower on the 85.
Yeah.
And shouldn't have any issues with that. And you know, that's going to be enough to cover almost everyone.
Yeah, I'd say 99% of people that'll cover. And it's one of those things where it really depends on boost and the engine and all that stuff. Because like I think 2 pumps might be able to take you further if you're running high compression, if we're rating it horsepower wise.
Yeah.
But from a fuel flow standpoint, on a Gen 3 Coyote, it was enough for us to support about 1,000 1050 wheel, somewhere in that range. Yeah. Which, like you alluded to, is most for just about everything. Yeah,
we learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot, and I'm sure most of this you already knew, but just about how it's not just about like what pumps you have in there, but like the bucket design and things like that. It all adds up to a big difference.
A little restriction here, a little restriction there, a drop in voltage here, drop in voltage there.
Size of the lines.
It all adds up.
Push on, whatever, it all makes a difference. So
yeah,
a lot of, like everything else, VMP, a lot of R&D, a lot of testing, several different iterations, and now we have a fuel system we're happy to sell to everyone. So
yeah,
cool stuff.
All right, so I want to hit this one first. Loki versus Odin. Who needs which and why?
Oh, this is like one of your favorite questions.
It is. Dude, it comes up so much in tuning.
The good news, before you even get started, I've already talked to the media guys this morning. We're going to do a video. I'm going to sit here at this table with those kits on the table, and I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
Because it needs to be talked about. Well, let's give them the brief.
So the brief synopsis. So Odin package, if we're assuming twin 69 throttle body, hour cold air. That we've done that throttle body, that cold air, 1,000 wheel all day.
Yep.
The range you get from the MAF installed in that housing is enough for, I think you're like 10.8, 11.2 on MAF frequency, which is plenty of room for those that aren't aware of that. Plenty of room from a MAF range standpoint, and the throttle body flows enough to make that power. So that's all fine and dandy. So 90% of our customers, pump gas 93. The other 10%, pump gas 91. So for those guys, you're octane limited at that point.
Yes.
Unless you're running Boostane, Octanium, Torco, something to that effect, an octane booster.
Yeah.
On Gen 3 Coyotes, I'd say if you're wanting to go crazy, 12 pounds is the absolute max. But frankly, you're already blending out a lot of DI there, and you'll get power falling off past like $7,000.
Yep.
I'd say that the happier place is like that 8 to 10 pound range. So for the 8 to 10 pound range people, Loki versus Odin. So what is the effective difference, Loki versus Odin? Throttle body, cold air. That's it.
As a basic overview, yes.
Yeah, so they're the same supercharger head unit. The included parts, the ones from a horsepower making standpoint, the difference is throttle body, cold air.
Yes.
So if we're talking 8 to 10 pounds on pump gas, what's the power difference between Loki and Odin? 5 to 10 wheel. Same boost, 5 to 10 wheel.
Yep.
Now, when you turn it up, what's the difference between the two? Well, the stock throttle body and the stock airbox start becoming a restriction fairly quickly when you turn them up. I'd say probably try not to run those past like 14, 15 pounds. It's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be a restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gonna push the pressure ratio across the blower into a range you don't want to be in, where it's gonna be, you may as well have been running 20, 24 pounds of boost from a pressure ratio situation. So to that end, if you plan on running pump gas for like the near and present future, Loki is a really good cost-effective option. If you plan on running E85 or race gas, just go straight to the Odin.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, we sell so many Odin kits that the person could have probably saved $1,000 and just bought a Loki and have made the same exact power. And if you like the look of it, if you like the look of the cold air and the billet throttle body and stuff like that, I get it. I mean, I really do.
It's hard to argue with.
It does look nice. The Loki kit looks nice in its own regard. It looks much more OEM. It looks much more like you could have bought the Mustang from the dealership with this package. But as far if you're only ever running 91 or 93, you don't plan on boosting, you don't plan on any type of other octane additive, they're gonna make about the same power.
Yeah, and if you just want to get in your car and drive it
Yeah.
and not worry about what station you're pulling up to or anything like that, they'll both effectively do the same thing. So just save yourself $1,000 and get the Loki kit.
And we legitimately, this is no funny business. Like the car had some weight pulled out of it, like full disclosure, like we had the passenger seat out of it, but it was the Loki kit with nothing special, and we went 10-0 at 140.
Yep.
Like that was not like, oh, we're at the track, off camera shenanigans. No,
There's no nitrous bottle in the car.
No.
It did that.
It went 10-0 at 140, and the car maybe made like, it was probably making like 680 or 700.
Yeah, we had the car with on Boostain at that point, but it wasn't like such an aggressive mixture that we were getting crazy with it. It was just kind of like the safety factor and me putting a couple degrees of timing in it.
Yeah, it wasn't even.
I wasn't even doing what I'd do on like E85.
Right, it wasn't like a full sim tune. We weren't like, oh god, hope it stays together. This was
more so just all right, what could someone reasonably do?
Yeah.
Like without getting too crazy, and that's what it did. 10-0 140, and all to that end, we get a lot of people buying Odin kits, and kind of like I alluded to, the problem then becomes octane, because naturally everyone wants to run it up to the edge of octane.
Yeah.
I want to run an 88 millimeter pulley with Odin. Okay, yes, it'll do that, but we're talking a Gen 3 12-to-1 motor, and with that pulley combination, you're looking at it making around 12 pounds at what we'll call peak RPM. And like on a 15-17 car, that's not nearly as much of an issue. That's 11.2 to 1 motor.
Yeah, a lot lower.
Yeah, and it, from an octane standpoint, it supports a little bit higher boost wise. At least we're talking on 93. And on those combinations, you can get away with Odin a bit more easily. But even then, if you're just gonna run on pump gas, dude, we got a great option for you.
It's like, so like the what comes to my mind is like if you set your cruise control on the highway at 79 miles an hour and something happens and you accidentally go down a hill and you hit 80, you know, like you're probably gonna be fine, right?
Yep.
Cop may stop you, probably a warning. But if you set it at 85 and then you go down a hill and you're doing 90, you're getting a ticket. It's the same. Like if you do an Odin on pump gas and you do an 88 millimeter and you get good 93, you're fine. But the day that you get a little bit of water, make sure it's a winter blend. It's comes out. It's like actually like 92.
Let's say it's a new guy filling up the pumps at the state or filling up the tanks at the station, and he puts the 87 in the 93 and the 93 in the 87.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have bad time.
Yeah, your knock sensors are gonna be throwing the Hail Mary pass. Like your cruise control was set on 85 there.
Yeah. You're like, good luck.
There went your safety net.
Yeah. But yeah, just be mindful of that, you guys. There are two different blower options. If you just plan on running on pump gas, Loki is a very good option for you. If you wanna have that room to grow in the future, then we got Odin for you. Yeah. But just keep in mind you got to be a bit less aggressive on pulley size.
Yep.
With Odin. Now, do we want to talk about that one or go to that one? Or do we want to hit questions and then move back to the talking points?
Let's answer a couple questions
first. Okay. So Taylor Pierce, hi Chuck. Is that SK?
It is.
SK Taylor.
SK Taylor. They Josh Garrison, who also works at SK, posted a photo of the Joker's ported 3100 Cobra blower they have.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I did.
It's massive. Wind tunnel is how you described it. Yeah, everything is gorgeous. He texted me this morning. It's supposed to be in the car and running this week, so
awesome.
That should make some steam.
Yeah, it should. And we got Trey Heron,
yeah.
Can you talk on best boost option for Gen 1 Mustangs? That is a highly opinionated type of question. Like I wouldn't say that there's a factual answer for that.
No.
It's just basically a matter of opinion.
If it's a stock Gen 1, anything that gives you low boost.
Yep. Like basically can you run 700 wheel on a Gen 1 when it's manual? Yeah. How long is it going to live? I can't tell you that. I'd rather be in like the 550 to 650 range on a Gen 1 if it was my personal fun daily driver.
Yeah, we've got both Anthony and Paul are stock Gen 1 Coyotes with Odins, and I think Paul's on 85. He makes like 720.
Or is Paul Gen 3R?
Paul's Gen 3R.
Yeah,
right,
so Anthony's Odin, Paul's Gen 3R, and yeah, he's on E85, makes like 720, I think you said.
Yeah, and then Anthony, we made like 707, but then we turned it we put it on like 30 degrees.
He's like Yeah, I just kind of want it to live, and I'm like, all right, I got you, fam.
10 degrees, let me dial that right up.
Yeah, I didn't literally do 10, but yeah, I think I have it capped at like 15 degrees.
Yeah.
And he, as you've seen,
He beats the ever-loving hell out of that car, and it
Yep.
lives.
Yep.
Disclaimer, one day it might stop living.
Yep.
We don't know.
But right now,
it
she
lives.
good.
So I guess to back up and answer your question there, Trey,
Loki.
Loki is a good option.
Yep.
We have him. It's going to make 600 reliably.
Yep.
It will make that horsepower reliably. I'm not saying your car will be reliable necessarily. Like I said, we always have to put that asterisk there. We never truly know. A lot of it depends on how you drive the car, quality of fuel, miles on it already.
Yeah.
But
They blow up stock.
I would say that you're going to have your best chances at the casino with like a Loki option and good gas and conservative tuning.
Yep. And do you want to do this one? Or do you want me?
Gil, we need that for 0304 fuel tanks swapping into Fox bodies. I have Glenn's take with all kind of baffling and fuel slosh is a problem. So I don't know if he means like a fuel system or like a bucket.
So like technically the 0304 Cobra tanks already have like a baffled bucket built into the tank.
Okay.
And I want to say Glenn's mirrored that when they built their tank. You may have to do something with check valves or something in the bucket to keep the bucket from draining too quickly.
Yeah, so I used to work with Aeromotive, and they actually have they call it like a jet siphon. Aeromotive actually started off with airplanes, so of course like fuel starvation is a real problem with that aviation industry. They use like what they call like a jet siphon system, and I think it can be adapted to almost any fuel system.
Okay.
It's are they saddle tanks in 0304?
No, it's just a single tank, and the bucket that's built in is built right into the middle, and like they have a single tube that goes into the hat, or not the hat itself, but the bucket to like feed it fuel from the rest of the tank.
Okay.
And then there's usually a couple holes drilled that keeps it from getting, I don't know, getting drained or filled too quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah,
it's
the Aeromotive system. You can actually like run 2 lines away from it. You could run it to opposite sides of the tank, and it basically just uses like the suction that the pumps create to siphon fuel from either sides of the tank, so that you're never drawing from a single point. You're drawing from multiple points in the system.
Okay.
The problem is it's like installing that in the tank. Are they aluminum tanks? Plastic?
No, they're stainless.
You would have to be creative to get down in there to actually like install it into the corners of the tank and stuff. It's really designed for like a custom fuel cell type situation, but could be done.
Yeah, I'd say on Gil's case, I'd probably check the height of the filter sock, because I know there's some fuel hats that bring the filters up too high.
Yep.
And you actually got to bring the filter socks down to the bottom of the tank. You can do that using a caliper or a ruler or a couple rulers, anything you can use to measure the height from the flange to the base of the tank, and then do the same on your fuel hat to the base of the socks.
Didn't we actually have an issue with the car we're working on here where the tank was like dented?
Yeah.
And we couldn't get the fuel hat to fit right and stuff like that's.
Yeah, it's like somebody tried picking it up and installing it in the car with a floor jack at one point, and like you can't see it underneath the plastic cover. So when you pull the plastic cover off, then you see that, oh, the bottom of the tank's pushed in.
It's worth like looking at little things like that. It could be your problem. Like it wouldn't, how silly would that be if the bottom of the tank had been, bent down, and then now your fuel sock's not sitting all the way flush, and sometimes it's the same.
I'd say the kind of the easier one there is just double check the measurements. Kind of like these people with clutch installs, where you just want to make sure your pump is sat all the way down or like within an 1/8 inch of the bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
That way, if you are getting issues with the bucket draining too much fuel out, at least you're sitting at the bottom of the bucket, so you have the best chance possible of getting all the fuel you can. Taylor, car will be back on the ground today.
Nice.
And
sent you some parts today. I think you've got a new bypass valve and a gasket coming.
then we got Drew Howell. What's up, VMP fan?
What is up, Drew?
Trey, Auto 6R80, and I assume that's the Gen 1 guy. And then I guess to follow up, what components would you swap out of the Gen 1 motor to run 650 to 700 safe?
Can I say Gen 2 illuminator?
Yeah, that or rods pistons if you're looking to do it the cheap way. If it hasn't blown up yet and you have your core engine, the cheapest way to get that done is rods pistons.
Yep.
Yeah. I would do that before it let go.
It's much cheaper that way.
It is. You don't lose the block and potentially both heads and all the valve train. Because the block by itself, I don't know what retail is on it, probably around $1,200 retail.
Yeah, it's crazy when motors go and they take out the heads and the block and the crank and
then it's like, well, you get to buy a brand new long block.
yeah, congrats. What started as rods and pistons is now everything.
Yep. And then we got Trey Heron again. It's full bolt on 2012 630 car on E. Yeah. I would say that if you get some spare scratch from one of these checks, make sure
Shout out to Uncle Joe.
Yeah, Uncle Joe's about to buy you short blocks. Support the economy. Yeah, rods, pistons are the way I'd go with that let me paraphrase this, or not paraphrase. Let me qualify this. If my primary concern was having a Gen 1 engine failure, the solution to that concern is rods and pistons.
Yep.
So instead of like living my life in a brown paper bag, hyperventilating every time I go lot, just put rods and pistons in it, and then all your worries about having a rod or piston failure go away.
Yep.
At least within reason. At least then you have stronger aftermarket parts, so you don't have that roll of the dice of like, is this going to blow up at 650? If you have rods and pistons in it and you have good fuel quality, you're never going to hurt that thing.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, that's all my motor is, and we make 1100.
Yep. Then we got Rafael Gonzalez. What type of up numbers for a Gen 2 Coyote? I assume that was horsepower and it corrected it. Numbers for a Gen 2 Coyote with Gen 3R budget kit.
You're making like 625.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And if we're talking, the numbers obviously change manual versus auto, but if we're talking like a basic kit on 93, manual probably 600 to 650, auto like that 580 to 620 range. Depends on what pulley you put on it, obviously, and fuel quality, but
comes with the 92.
Yeah.
92, and then just like the Loki kit, your restrictions there are pulley size because it's the 92.
Yeah.
Throttle body because it's a twin jet 60, and then the cold air because it's the Roush.
Yeah, so I'd say the 580 to 620 is good ballpark for an auto, and then 600 to 630.
And then the good news is
Good ballpark for the other.
You're like $1,000 to $1,200 away from making that like a regular Gen 3R kit down the road. So budget kits get you in the door, get the blower kit installed, enjoy it at 600 for a while. If you're wanting more power from then, throttle body, cold air, upgrade the heat exchanger if you want. It's simple. It's super easy upgrade path.
At least the hard expensive stuff is already on the car.
Yep.
Garrett Shaw, excited to see what Joe can get done with Randy Shaw car. Hopefully, since we won't be waiting on as many parts for mine, we can get it knocked out quicker than his. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Gary, your car should roll out pretty quickly. It was kind of just like getting everything situated for Randy's car, and that car's basically just waiting on some tuning stuff, and then
tuning stuff, and then I can get it on the dyno. I just basically got to dial in like the drivability stuff because I can't do that nearly as easily on the dyno, being that we don't have a loaded eddy current dyno to do that stuff on, and I can't like test the clutch in at 70 miles an hour stuff realistically on that. But yeah, I'll get the drivability stuff done, break in the engine, and get it up on the dyno.
Yeah, that car sounds rowdy. It's gonna make some steam for sure. We want to check YouTube, make sure we're not missing.
Yeah, we got a few more questions in here, but we'll hop back. So are these sorted? We'll go by most recent so that we can try and get these guys.
Oh wow, they posted. Lots of comments. Any more?
All right, so that's the.
See you in 4 weeks. Bought Gen 3R vacation package. That's awesome, man. I'm happy to show you around when you get down here, Nick. Looking forward to it.
And we've got root beer.
Let's just answer that. Let's go through the other ones and we'll circle back. We will acknowledge that we see the Alphabet Company questions, and we will make an attempt to address that. So
yeah, we'll circle back to those.
Are you guys still using SCT for tuning? Yes, we are using SCT. They're right down the road from us. We use both HP tuners and SCT, and we work closely with those guys over there. It really depends on your application, whether or not we're going to prefer HP tuners or SCT. You obviously know more about it, but I would say as a general rule of thumb, newer applications is largely HP tuners, older applications is largely SCT.
Yeah, exactly. There's some EEC5 stuff that HP doesn't have mapped out yet or support yet that we frankly, the only option is SCT for remote tuning. And then a lot of the like 18 up stuff, there isn't very many applications where I would tell a customer to go SCT over HP, especially if it's supercharged blower or requires any heavy amount of trans tuning type stuff. So
Both they're just tools.
Yeah.
And just like every other tool, they both have their correct and appropriate uses.
Yep. And so can you explain the difference between your VMP IN-M002 MAF, VMP 3500, and an OEM 05 to 10 MAF when using VMP 5-inch cold air intake for terminators? Thanks. So all those MAFs are calibrated to output a different voltage versus airflow in a fixed tube size. So like an 05 to 10 MAF at like 5 volts in a 5-inch tube would be like 120 pound minute. So like if we're using super rough numbers, 1200 crank horsepower. And in reality, it's actually closer to like 1,000 crank horsepower. The 3500 MAF is going to scale that out further, so you lose some lower end resolution. So like if you had a setup that at idle is only flowing 0.4 pound minute airflow, that's something to where maybe you don't want to go to a 3500 or a 5000, but it ultimately depends on where the ceiling is. So like if you have something that you're looking to make 1100 tire with, the 3500 is a better bet. It's going to give you that range that you need. And the IN-M002, I think that's the 5000. So something like that in a 5-inch tube, there's almost no application I'd recommend that for. You'd have to be like 15 to 1700 wheel horsepower for that MAF to make sense. I don't know if the math actually works out that high, but I can say for a fact I've never had a car where I needed a VMP 5000 or an HPX in a 5-inch tube. That's just way too much window. So the easiest way to think about these MAF setups is like, think of them as scales. They have a range at which they can weigh stuff. The MAF isn't actually weighing anything, but it's the easiest comparison I can draw for you. Like if you're trying to weigh something that's between 0 and 100 pounds, you want to scale it and go 0 to 100 pounds. If you're trying to weigh something that's 500 pounds, you don't want to put it on a 0 to 100 pound scale. It's just going to max it out or damage it. You want something that if you're trying to do 500 pounds, you want something like 250 to 750. That's where you're going to get the most accuracy.
You wouldn't weigh yourself at like a car weighing station.
No, exactly.
And you wouldn't weigh your car on your home scale. You want
Exactly.
the appropriate scale for the weight you're trying to. And just like, in this sense, horsepower is your weight, or airflow really is your weight, and the MAF is essentially the scale. So targeting a specific horsepower number, which is in turn targeting a specific airflow amount, picking the appropriate MAF sizing and scaling for that airflow.
Yeah, and to this end, there's a reason why that MAF kit comes with a 05 to 10 scaled MAF sensor, because that kit is good for like 100 pound minute airflow and still be able to read well. And that's what most of our Cobra guys are going to be in the range of. There's a few guys that'll turn it up to the umpteenth level and they need a 3500 to get the range that they need to see. But the range you have on a Cobra is 0 to 5 volts. The only way you get around that is with a Mafia. So if you don't have a Mafia on the setup, like you could run a 05 to 10 MAF with a Mafia and change the scaling as you need headroom.
It's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, we get them occasionally, but by and large, just put the right sensor in there. Don't use a 5000 in a 5-inch tube unless you're making stupid power, which at that point you're probably speed density anyways. And then 3500 is the max I'd go to in a 5-inch housing for 90% applications.
How does the math work out for this at altitude? Man, I can't talk. 5280 feet. If we're up for say 12 psi at sea level, can you run reliably our crappy 91 octane here at Denver? What octane do we need? Doesn't it actually work the opposite way? Wouldn't the altitude actually make it easier for lower octanes?
Not necessarily, only if you're doing the same pulley size. So you can pulley down.
Okay, he's staying at 12 psi, right? Okay.
Yeah. So in order to if we're quoting a pulley size as making 12 psi, that's at sea level where we're at.
Yeah.
So I think it's either 1250 or 1500 feet, you lose a pound of boost. So every one of those units, 1250 or 500, you can go down one pulley size to achieve the same boost target. So 12 psi, I don't know that I'd be trying to do that on 91, especially if we're talking Gen 3 Coyote. I'd rather be in that 8 to 10 range on 91. So you would just pick your pulley size accordingly for that. And then what octane do you need? If you're trying to run 12 pounds, I'd rather you be at that minimum 93 octane, more ideally like the Mustangs shot in the tank, not the entire like 16 or 32 ounce container, but just a shot.
93 with a shot of Mustang would be pretty safe, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And then oh boy.
Yeah, you offer a Gen 3R 1570 budget kit. We do offer it for the 13. We did. We had a budget kit for 1114. It is sold out and is never coming back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We had a limited supply of like the Roush intakes, and we kind of just decided that once they were gone, they were gone. So best bet for a budget kit is a Loki.
And then we've got Heath Harrison or Heath Harbison. Hey guys, what are your thoughts on the L&M intake only cams for an NA car? Are they worth it? Thanks in advance. So if I was going to cam my own car, it would be, you have to look in the future. So if all you ever do is want to run an NA car and you want the maximum juice for the squeeze, and at that point it's like comp stage 3 NA. If you're looking to go boosted down the road and you want a cam that's not too wildly crazy and you just want a little bump in power, I'd say the L&M intake only cams are a good option.
My issue is that for the money of the cam and the install, if you're not installing it yourself,
there's money involved.
There's other things that are cheaper that will net you more power.
Yeah.
So unless you've done those other things, unless you've got, like a bullet or a GT350 throttle body, a ported manifold, long tubes, all these other things,
I would say check all the other boxes first.
Yes.
And then cams would be the last box I would check.
That being said, like, it is a horsepower gain. It is just the dollar per power gained is low.
Yeah. I mean, if you're at that point in NA where you've checked every box, that's the like last box you can check other than getting into the short block and the heads and stuff. So like to that end, that's where I do cams. And if I was going to do cams and it was just NA, I'd do a set of comp stage 3s. But if you're looking for that, you're not looking to get crazy with it, you still want a cam that's like very mild, then the L&M intake cam only is a very good bet.
And you won't be able to hear it.
Yep, you won't be able to hear it. The only way you hear it's locked out and phased to a position that has overlap. That's the only way you hear it. All right, we'll get this last one. Or no, not the last one. We'll save this for last. So if you guys want to hear about that, you can wait till the end. We'll save that whole topic for last, the alphabet companies.
It's not touchscreen.
Oh, peasant.
Oh, it's peasant laptop.
What do we got? What kit would you guys recommend for 600, 650 on Gen 1 on E85? Basically, any kit will do that on E85.
Yeah.
10 pounds and enough timing will get you 600, 650 wheel. Hell, you can do that most of the time on 93. Rafael Gonzalez, mine's manual. That's my plan. Just got to find out installer here in New York. Thanks for your answers, guys. Much appreciated. You could hit up Kevin Mark Hand at Wicked Motorsports, I think is his company. I think he's in that like tri-state area. I think he's in Jersey actually, but I don't think he'd be, depending on where you are in New York, not too far from you.
Kylan asking about fuel upgrades.
Do you know which one he was?
Yeah, the 600 to 650.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Colin, if you're only looking to make 600 to 650,
you could do the Siley option.
Yeah.
Or like Siley. I know there's a few companies making fuel systems like that. I think I like Road Heaver's setup a bit more.
I mean, couldn't you really just do boost the pump?
Not all the time on Gen 1s.
No?
So those are kind of like the hit or miss on whether or not a booster pump's enough. And frankly, it's only enough when you're at 8 pounds and you still have to compensate for some pressure drop. So like, can you make it work? Yeah. Is it? I don't like banking on that when it comes to fuel system stuff. I'd rather spend a little bit of money and at least get a Siley set up. But I don't think I've never heard of anyone actually stopping when they're on E85 at that level.
Yeah, no.
So it's like you could spend the money once on our fuel system and be good all the way up to 1,000 wheel, or you could spend 3/4 of that money and be good up to about 750, 800 wheel before that Siley system's maxed out.
Yeah.
So it's like spend it right, spend it once, or buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
I'd rather see you put one of our fuel systems in it and grow from there.
It would definitely cover any needs he has for now, obviously, and then for
Mhm.
anything in the future. And you
Gives
can always
you-
resell it if you decide to sell the car and move on, something like that. It's still going to hold its value in the used market.
Yeah, exactly. We got Drew Howell. If a Siley kit, please make sure it has a filter. Most of his kids don't. Noted. So Kyle, take note of Drew's comment. And then Daryl LaForge, I have a VMP tune with an Engage. Anything I should be concerned about, support, etc.? No, we're not. We're not like, if you already have the Engage, you have no worries, because the only thing that's not really done from a support standpoint anymore is it's not sold anymore. It's not unlockable anymore.
Yeah, but we still 100% tune with it. No issues whatsoever.
Yeah, it's more so business as usual from the from what we do side of things. But if you drop it, break it, sorry, dude. There's no one I'm aware of that'll fix it for you. At that point, pull it apart and try and fix it yourself. I know I fixed a couple here myself when it's small, stupid stuff, but yeah, there's nothing we can do when you break it.
I think I saw something about Palm Beach Dino. Maybe has like some.
I don't know what their stocking situation's like or what they're going to be doing with that, so I can't really speak or recommend anything in that regard.
Yeah.
At that point, just make sure you don't drop it and don't like submerge it in water. And I mean, other than that, you should be fine, dude.
They're pretty tough.
Yeah.
We've seen a few of them break, but they're not too bad.
Yeah. They don't just spontaneously break sitting on your dashboard. You kind of have to make a concerted effort to try and break it. Taylor, you should know, baby.
Taylor Pierce currently calling me.
He's just trying to see if you have him on like do not ring.
We never do that to him. Precious. He's got a GT350 that he wants an Odin for. It's a GT350R.
Didn't they do one?
They did one, yeah.
Okay.
Not his. He went out and bought one.
Oh, okay.
The guy can't hide money, so he went out and bought one.
Matt would say, and his group can't hide it.
So he's got a 350R. He wants to put an Odin on there.
Mm-hmm. That'd be sweet. He's got experience with them, so he knows what they'll do.
They've got to be fast with an Odin on there. Just the RPMs those things turn is nuts.
GT350 engine plus boost equals good time, at least in terms of power. Longevity?
Good time until the crank decides it's not a good time anymore.
Yeah. And then we've got we're back to topics briefly.
Okay.
We'll kick back over for that. A couple more questions, and then that
lovely
prevalent question.
Yeah, the one that everyone seems to want.
The elephant in the room, so to speak. Budget Gen 3R versus normal Gen 3R kit. Kind of Loki versus Odin, kind of.
Yeah.
Inlet restriction versus no inlet restriction, or relatively low inlet restriction. There's basically a difference there. And then some of the included parts. I know you mentioned single pass heat exchanger versus dual fan triple pass.
Yeah.
And throttle body cold air and injectors.
Yep.
Basically the difference there. So from a head unit standpoint, Gen 3R budget, Gen 3R normal, it's the same head unit.
Yep.
The difference there being just some of the included parts.
Yeah, and we have a clear defined upgrade path for you if you buy the budget kit. The budget kit really is just to get somebody, supercharged on their way and then, further down the road. And another quick note, kind of like your discussion earlier about like wanting to go Odin because I just got to have this stuff. Like most people don't realize how fast a 600 horsepower Coyote car is. Yeah,
like my buddy Austin's car that he put a Loki kit on, a 1517 auto car. Like I was data logging on the way to work one day and I ran into a car, not physically, but like next to him, and
just ran him off the road.
It was a ZL1. I guess it's like a Gen 1 or Gen 2 ZL1, not like the 16 up type car. And I don't know what was done to it, but I was just chilling at the light and he took off a little bit. So I'm like, oh, playtime? I got the data logger going, so it's a good chance to get a watt log in.
Yeah, I just need to get some data.
Yeah. So we both were doing our data logging, and it just so happened to be next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, his data logging poll didn't go as well as mine did.
Nah, you got more data.
Yeah, I got more data, and yeah. So to that end, a 600 wheel S550 auto car will take down a ZL1. I don't know what mods they are, but I can speak from firsthand experience and say it'll absolutely do it.
Yeah.
So like to that end, even at that 600, 580, 600, 620 wheel level, it's still a very fast car.
I was talking about this in the group chat. You're going to be hard pressed to run across someone else at a no prep street legal track event that's going to be faster than you.
Yeah, and the benefit those have is that they make relatively less power on the line. So getting them to hook up and leave isn't nearly as hard as getting like a 1,000-wheel manual car to hook up and leave.
Yeah, no.
Or even your car.
Or even a 1,000-wheel 10R80 car.
Yep. NMRA spring break at Bradenton this weekend. A lot of customers and a lot of friends out there. Hope you guys do well. Hit us up.
Yeah, Cody Cheney. We've got Dwayne Hickman. We've got the Sabrowskis.
Yeah.
All running VMP Gen 3Rs. Excited to see. I know Hickman and Sabrowski have gone like 780s. Yeah, on 2650s. So, and those guys have done some changes to the cars over the off season.
I saw the ram air setup on Sabrowski's car. Yeah. That'd be sweet.
And then, like, I know that Dwayne had never really said what the car made. Then I saw him sprinkle like a comment in the other day. I was like, yeah, we were only running like 1,300 last season. We've got a little more this season. And I'm just like, oh,
yep.
Oh,
big boy power.
Those are serious motors.
Those are not rookie numbers.
They're not. Those like not rookie compression on either one of those cars.
No. And then some of the shows this year. Do you know what shows we're going to? I know that you're kind of involved in some of the planning on that.
We are, without a doubt, going to be at Ponies and Smokies this month. You and Mike are at the Super Chips meet.
Yeah, the one at Orlando Speed World. We'll be running the dyno out there.
So Ponies and Smokies this month. This Orlando Speed World Super Chips meet this month.
I think it's the very end of this month. I think it's like the 27th or something.
We will be at Ford Nationals Carlisle. We will be at Mustang Week. SEMA, PRI, obviously. I think we're going to be at some of the local, the Cletus and Cars events.
Yep.
And Streetcar Takeover locally. We're not going to be at TX2K this year. Joe will be at TX2K.
I will be at TX2K.
So find him, and he can help you data log your car.
No. No, I'm going there recreationally. If you find me, I will politely tell you to go find somewhere else to walk.
You're going to have your Turo rental car, though, right?
Yeah, we haven't decided which one we're going to go with yet, but
Some kind of Mercedes, I feel like.
Nah, Paul was eyeballing a 7 Series Beamer, and then we were looking at a GS Lexus and a... Actually, really cheap was like an 07 E350 Mercedes. Like, they're not...
An 07?
W2. They're... I understand it's old. It's still a very nice car. I miss my E63.
You're gonna pull out of the guy's driveway and the windows aren't gonna roll down and the locks aren't gonna work.
He's got really good reviews.
The heated seats probably get way too hot.
No.
Yeah. Oh,
so those are so fancy they have timers on the heated seats.
Yeah, oh yeah, because they would burn the car down if they didn't. Mid 2000s is German electronics, not exactly known for the pinnacle of reliability. I've owned them. I know first
tricks. Like when Neo's running for the subway and he's like, I need an exit.
He says, "Back up, we have to being stupid."
All right, there we go. All right, so
Nick, Mid America Shelby meet. I talked to Taylor a little bit about that. I'm going to try.
Attempts will be made,
but you have to take me to Jet Boat Thursdays.
Law. If this happens, this must happen. Any boost coming for LS? We work with Magnuson. Anything they make for LS stuff, we can get for you. And
sold Camaro kit today.
Woo!
Yep.
What year Camaro?
It's like a 16 or something.
Okay. Drew Howell. I may be at Ponies and the Smokies. Great. See you out there.
Yep. And Joey and I will be there.
And for those that stuck through the brief interruptions, I guess now's the time. Yeah, we did that. Oh my, there's quite a few in here.
Oh yeah. for the
So-
ABC scoop.
In one of your videos, it said the Loki has stage 2 porting and Odin has stage 3. At what point is that a restriction? So that is not the technical difference between the two.
Yeah,
Some of the Odins have stage 3. Like, not like
It
you
has
have to specifically order it that way.
Yeah, so that video is old.
Mm-hmm.
In our testing that we always
numerous testing.
we basically decided to not run with that.
Mhm.
We decided that everything gets a stage 2 port essentially, unless otherwise specified. You can get the stage 3 port, but from a standard, everything comes with the stage 2 port, and that services the majority of our customers better.
Mm-hmm.
So we could get into this. Could be an entire hour-long conversation about bearing plate shaping and how that can move torque and horsepower numbers. But essentially, the stage 3 port will be a reduction of some torque at the increase of horsepower way up high.
Yeah.
And we just decided that through testing, customer reviews, and our own reviews, that the stage 2 port gives a better customer experience, unless
Especially for the 90% market,
yes,
which is what, from a financial standpoint, we need to cater to.
correct. If you are running 950 plus, I would say a stage 3 port is where we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
But majority of our customers are 700 to 800, and stage 2 is actually better. So
Yep. At least for that application.
yes.
So that's him. Yes, we're going to continue supporting SCT, and
Can you upgrade the Loki hit to Odin? Is part in stock to Bay? Yeah, everything is in stock, Carlos. If you have a Loki kit, you want to go to an Odin kit. Everything to make that happen is in stock.
yeah, just make sure you consult whoever's tuning the car before you do that, because depending on what pulley you currently have on there,
I think
you may have to change it.
I think Carlos is too fast performance in Puerto Rico.
That makes sense. His name pops up a lot. Okay. And VMP will be installing. Oh, he'll be installing cams. Cause some hesitation at takeoff. At Watt, car pulls great all the way at 7,700. Car's upgraded springs too. So contact whoever's tuning the car and just get with them on it, on the hesitation that you're referring to. They'll probably just need some logs of it. And
Big cams do weird things with vacuum, so
yeah, and there's some different stuff we have to do with how much cam timing is commanded at lower RPM. And
2650 Roush blower, smallest pulley I can go with, needing an upgraded tensioner. That depends on what that's on.
yeah, like what fuel it's on. So a 2650 Roush blower would only be 18 up Coyote.
Good point.
So what pulley you can go with, if you're just on 93, don't run anything smaller than the stock pulley, in my opinion. The stock pulley is already very aggressive for pump gas.
And those blowers are not good at shedding heat. They have terrible intercoolers, and the smaller pulley just really accelerates that.
Yeah, yeah. It just puts more heat in it faster.
Yep.
That's all it does. Is the RTD as easy to use as the N-Gauge? Is it true that HP Tuners is working on an app to use your phone data logging and install tunes? So we covered that in the last video that Matt and I did. I defer you to that video. I believe it was the middle of the video. Short answer is the only thing that's harder to use an RTD with currently is the fact that you need a laptop to use it. An N-Gauge, it was its own interface, so you didn't need a laptop plugged in to change tunes or anything. But from a functionality standpoint, to me, it's no harder to use than an N-Gauge was. If you have a laptop already, it's just as easy. And then to quickly touch on the data logging, installing tunes in the phone app, that is all like beta testing right now. So we don't know 100% that those things are actually going to become a thing. They've been in beta testing for a long time now. So the idea is there, the implementation is there. It's just getting it to work on everything, I think, is what they're fighting right now. Kind of like getting phone apps to work on every type of phone. It's
a lot.
It's going to be a struggle.
And then
but
one update can happen, and it can change the way every other thing works. Like it is just a lot of work. But yeah, they're a smart company, and they're very good at what they do. So
yeah, I'm sure they'll get it figured out at some point or another. But in the now and present future, in the customer-based versions of the software or retail-based versions of software, that stuff is not available yet.
Anthony, more power in a 5.0 without going supercharger, saving for a Gen 3R. headers, X-pipe, Corsa Extreme, 47-pound injectors, tuned from Lund Racing. Ported 18 manifold is a good call. If you don't already have a cold air, do that. Other than that, you're pretty much looking at the basic bolt-ons. E85, ported 18 manifold, headers, injectors. That's pretty much the sauce.
That's the easy stuff to do, at least.
Yep.
Other than that, you got to start getting into the engine.
And you're gonna be, I mean, I'm assuming this is probably like a Gen 1 or Gen 2 car, because it's 12. Okay, so Gen 1 car. Yeah, until you go blower, you're kind of there.
Yeah.
Weight reduction.
Exactly. And
Bin caliber transmissions for 18 plus. I don't know. That'd be a good question for Joey.
yeah, and I think all the Ben Calimer stuff now requires a core.
Yep.
To even get built.
Just did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is
So
the
you
case.
have to send them a trans to get a trans built. There's no longer you just get sent a trans without anything being sent there type of thing.
All right. I think that's the majority of the questions.
Yeah. So should we touch on Alphabet Boys, or do you want to hit these?
We can go ahead and just knock it out.
Okay.
So
Alphabet Boys.
let me I can kick this off a little bit, I guess.
I'll put the ball on the tee for you.
I want to preface this by saying that this is my 8th year in this performance aftermarket industry. I've been a SEMA member. I've been all across the industry working for a lot of different companies. Had a lot of different experience. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of really great people. And the more I get involved with that, because we're going through a lot of carb applications and EOs, and we're trying to do everything the right way, really. With everything we do, every product we develop, that is at front of mind.
Yeah.
Tuning included.
Yep.
And why I say this is that, like, I watched John Lund Jr.'s video, and like the part that really stuck out to me is the whole deal about manufacturers coming together, competitors coming together, because this is really going to have to be like a quote unquote team effort.
It really is, because we are we the people.
Yep.
And when we the people want something to we the change, they gotta we get together.
Yep.
So like if we can get enough of us together to speak loudly enough about this and get on our state legislators to get on the Senate, House of Representatives, everyone to get on this and the RPM Act, and I'd say the RPM Act is step one. That's a bill that's already written up. It needs pushed through legislation. It needs figured out. It's been in there way too long. They need to get that figured out. That's definitely step one. I'd say that's what I feel is the easiest target for us to hit.
For sure.
We need to protect the racing side of the industry at minimum.
Yep.
There needs to be a better path for us to, I don't know, prove that what we're doing isn't making a large impact on the environment, at least not to the degree that container ships are, or airplanes, or anything like
Cruise
that.
ships, you name it.
Yeah, we're a very, very, very small part of the environmental impact market. And
it's one of those situations where anyone watching this, and if you share this, if you snip this, don't go post, oh, F the EPA. Don't go just say, oh, screw the government. That's not the answer. Like, it's really, really not, and it's going to make things worse. It's not going to help.
No, and if anything, it vilifies us, not them.
Right. Like, I can't urge you enough to go get educated on the situation. Go read what the RPM Act entails. PRI just posted, they submitted an amicus brief over the Gearbox Z case out, I think, in Nevada, and go read what that is about. Go read what PRI is doing. Go familiar yourself with what SEMA is trying to accomplish, and really learn about what the core issue is at hand, and then do things the right way. There's a mean in the government. There's a way in the government to go about this the correct way, and to contact the right people. Write your senator, write your governor, call them, let them know that your opinion, and like, just making memes on Facebook about it or making posts
It's
on a
not
forum,
going to fix it.
it makes it worse. I promise you, like, they see it, and it makes us look dumb.
And we've been, so to some degree, maybe not in the public light so much as just in our private business dealings with customers directly, we've gotten pushback from customers that want us to do stuff that isn't on the up and up. And we've been telling people for years, yo, we can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? These people can do that. Yeah, it's not a matter of can or can't, it's will or won't. So what we've had a policy of doing for a long time now, we're going back to when I started tuning, is when we started this. And I'd say argue could be made we were doing it before then too, but we've made a conscious effort to not be doing any of the stuff all these guys are getting harassed about right now are doing. And we got a lot of pushback from that from customers. And we were telling people back then, like, yo, this may be what you can get from someone else now, but it won't be forever.
No.
Because there isn't enough stuff changing in our community for that to be a thing that can perpetuate. And frankly, in order for like all of this to be resolved, there's a lot of things that need to change.
Yeah.
And a good majority of that is current practices that other people are doing that think, oh, hey, I can do this. There's no repercussions for this. No, you can't. There are repercussions for it. It's not if, it's when. So the more that people get on board with that stuff and everyone's on the same page that, yo, I can't shut off your check engine light. Sorry. You're going to have to look at it. Like, yeah. I'm sorry. The more that people can get on that page that is the world that we live in, deal with it. Mm-hmm. And the more people we can get on the front of making sure that their stuff is compliant or going down the avenue of proving that the environmental impact we're having by this small percentage of the community doing what they're doing or racers doing what they're doing isn't affecting the global environment or the national environment in a tremendously bad way.
No, there's no significant negative impact. And
no,
we've spent literally thousands of dollars, hundreds, probably thousands of hours now with the SEMA Garage doing emissions testing. And we are doing everything we can do to prove that our superchargers do not negatively impact emissions, that our tunes do not negatively impact emissions. We work hours on this stuff and we spend an incredible amount of money.
Yep.
And so if you would like to have a car in 20 years that you can modify, if you would in 10 years and 5 years, for all I know, I don't know. If you work in this industry, like John said, he was in IT before this, and if one goes out, he doesn't even know if he could go back and get a job in IT. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I know if you take automotive performance out of my resume, I worked at Subway in high school, Yeah. I could go back to that, I guess. But if you would like an industry to race your car in, then help us out. And if you're a competitor watching this video and you're seeing this, like, let's do this together. Yeah. Because if it's me versus you versus them,
they already won.
It ain't gonna work.
They already won.
So
if that's the case, we
support Lund. Are they a competitor? Sort of.
Yeah.
But we support them, and we're here to help them out with anything we can help them out with, and I think they'd be the same way with us. So.
Yeah. So. I think the takeaway from all this is that Facebook action is not going to do anything unless your Facebook action is informing people of the right things to do and informing people that they need to take action is what I would do on Facebook. But if you really want to have an impact, you need to be the one that calls your state legislator, writes letters. We need to be the thorn in these guys' side right now to help get this, to get what's already written through the House and through the Senate.
Yeah.
And that being the RPM Act, that's step one to us being able to legally have an industry. So, yeah, I mean, there may not be a lot of guys watching this, but if there's nothing else that you share from this, share that. We're not bashing 3-Letter Company. At the end of the day, we can hate on them all we want, but at the end of the day, I think the goal of their entire sector is to make sure that people have clean, breathable air. So from an enforcement standpoint, we need to show them that people will still have clean, breathable air if we continue to exist.
Yeah, I'm not against clean, breathable air.
Yeah, and clean water and just environmentally. Yeah. Like, I'm not against the environment. Like, I like living too.
Yes.
I like when plants can grow and we don't have to feed them electrolytes.
Right. And crave it.
Yeah, they crave electrolytes. But yeah, all to that end, I'm not against what they stand for. I'm against what they're doing to achieve what they think is going to make everything better. And I think there's certain people that are certainly abusing some stuff that we can do from a software standpoint. And I think that there needs to be some sort of something going on in that department. But I think where they're currently fishing is the wrong fishing hole. I feel like there's bigger fish to fry. We're doing what we can.
Yeah.
And
we're not even sure if there are fish in this pond yet. So
yeah, exactly. Like, can we use a fish finder? Like, can we start there?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I think that's kind of everything we need to touch on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lund kind of already said a lot. If you haven't seen the video that Junior posted, go watch it. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You did a good job with that, Junior. I don't agree with everything, but I'd say a good 99% of it I'm on board with, and I co-sign that. But yeah, end of the day, action needs to be taken. It needs to be us that do it. There's not many things I politically get involved with, but I don't know. This has been my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it would really suck to see that this is a thing that goes when we have container ships circling the world that put out more pollution than every car in the United States in the world. Like,
combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, can we focus on the thing that's actually going to make a difference? So like, we go back to
drop that link in the chats if you want me to Lon's video.
Yeah, you should drop it.
And so like, if we get into the percentages, we are, in terms of emissions, with like US based cars with all functioning emissions devices and stuff, very, very small footprint on what they're currently outputting, and what the upcoming bullet points are for vehicle emissions are. Like, the gains that we're getting at this point are very small compared to what we were outputting in the 60s when the Clean Air Act was initiated. It's like, you're squeezing this industry so hard, you're causing the cost of cars to go crazy, the cost of the technology to go crazy. It's like, we need to start squeezing other places to get that big juicing. And the big juicing is like all the stuff that is very poorly regulated globally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're in the US, we're trying, but kind of like how we all need to come together for like the RPM Act and just stuff locally here in the United States. Other governments need to start trying to tell people the right things to do, or try to help them do the right thing, so that if you want to have an impact in the whole environment, not just on our shores, on our land, it needs to happen worldwide.
Yeah, not just like a segment of a segment of a segment
Mm-hmm.
of the market. And
then just squeeze the life and money out of it.
like the craziest part of it all being when we send our F-150 to SEMA Garage to have it emissions tested
Mm-hmm.
with our tune and our supercharger, and it is below factory specs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually cleaner
Mm-hmm.
than the way it all rolled off the lot.
Yep.
Kind of just makes you go, wait, what?
Yeah, and this is what you're concerned about.
Yeah.
This thing that's cleaner than it is stock. But I digress. Yeah, we're a small part of the environmental impact in the grand scheme of things. There's other things out there that are doing a lot worse. We need to get them focused on the right things and get them to see that what we're doing isn't the thing that they need to be so heavily focused on. I feel like there's bigger fish to fry than the 1%ers that race their cars.
Right. Brian, question of the day?
So, it either go completely self-indulgent and just ask a question for me, right? Because it's like something I really don't know.
Let's do it. Self-indulge.
Self-indulge? All right.
Fire
Cool,
away.
because I had two, and I was going to give you guys the option, but you just want me to go self-indulge?
Full send, baby.
All right, cool. So I don't really know how injectors work. Right? Like, I know they're a thing, and I know that I just had to edit them in a video.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what exactly does the little thing do?
PFM. Pure friggin' magic. No,
So
I only know the basics, and I feel like Joe could probably do a lot better explanation of how an injector works.
So you have you have a coil inside of a body that the coil resides around like a little pintle. It's magnetic. Coil energizes, the pintle moves up, allows flow. So you have pressure on one side of the pintle and pressure on the other side of the pintle. In theory, your pressure drop, like we'll call it the back of the pintle has a bunch of pressure. The front of the pintle it has less pressure, relatively less pressure. So you get a pressure drop across the injector. So you have fuel that already kind of wants to squirt down into the combustion chamber or the intake port, depending on where it's injected. We're talking DI or port injection. But you have this little thing in here, little wind of wire, a coil. It energizes, it pushes the pintle up or down, depending on how it's set up to flow. And then your fuel that was stopped from being injected in is injected in. So basically, like, we hit a light switch, the light turns on. The light turning on is the fuel coming out. You have a little bit of a delay between when you hit the light switch and when it starts injecting fuel. Same thing with a fuel injector. It takes time for the coil to energize and the pintle to come up and fuel to come out. But essentially, if you turn that light on and off, like really fast, that's what the fuel injector is doing in the ECU. Just like just squirting fuel in. And then
And now you reach a point where you can't go any faster.
where your light switch is on.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's where like an injector is maxed out.
Yeah.
Injector off is light off. So like, you know how when you, I don't know if you know, but like the strobe lights in like, let's say you're at an EDM dance or something.
Yeah, okay.
You got the guy with the strobe. It's going with the beat, and then the beat goes faster, and you have a strobe that's set up to go with the beat.
Right.
Beat starts beating faster. So think of that as engine speed.
Okay.
As for like every injection event's usually one cycle. Usually like the intake stroke or just before. So like you have 4-stroke engine, you have 4 cycles. One of those four cycles or 180 events is an injection event. So like at idle in your car, you could probably hear like clack, 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 clack at idle, and then you increase engine speed and you hear clack, 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 clack. It's the injectors closing and opening. I think your car's direct injection. Does it say like GTDI at the bottom or GDI? The back.
Wrong guy, Joe.
Direct injectors are usually noisier, but yeah, so essentially it's just a little valve that opens and closes based on electrical current. It's told when to open and close by the ECU.
Okay.
And yeah, it
Like
has
function?
the fuel pressure behind it that fuel injector is allowed to open for a certain amount of time to get a certain amount of fuel mass in.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, you get a combustion event and it pushes the piston down. And then your exhaust valve opens and it gets pushed out the exhaust, and then it starts the whole cycle over again.
By
Yep.
function, it's like a super simple idea,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but in practice, it's actually like really precise
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and very like complicated to manufacture and have work properly.
Yeah.
Follow-up.
Follow up.
What is energizing the little coil, and like what?
Current,
Like electricity.
Where's that coming from?
So like you have
The alternator, technically.
so step one is the battery. The battery.
Battery.
So the battery is basically used to start the car and act as a capacitor for all the energy that the alternator is throwing out. So battery starts the car. The current coming from the battery goes to the ECU. ECU is like, hey, I got all this energy I can play with right here.
I feel pretty good.
I'm just gonna send some over here and send some over here and send some over here.
Okay.
And it fires the coils, the injectors, pulse width modulated valves for evap. Basically, it does everything it needs to do. And then the alternator is like, yo, man, I see you need some more voltage, so I'm gonna give you some.
I'm
of
gonna
that
give you
voltage.
some voltage.
I'm gonna give you some voltage. I'm gonna pump you up to about 14.5 volts. How about that? Yeah, exactly. So the alternator is like a windmill, except there's no wind. There's a belt hooked up to the alternator. It spins it. It generates an electric field, and then it pushes that current through a wire, and the wire charges the battery, increases the voltage in the whole system. And then you have like, I don't know, your standard battery is going to be around like 12.2 to 12.7 resting voltage. Alternator, depending on what's commanded of it, will do anything from base battery voltage all the way up to like 15 volts. Some of them do more, but like if we're talking standard automotive applications, like 12 to 15 volts is like their operating range.
And if it's an 03 Cobra, you get to change them every 500 miles.
Yeah, and also at wide open throttle, it's only going to make about 12.7. Unless it's a really good alternator in it. Maybe it'll make 13.5.
So good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of moving parts in a car. Like a lot of pieces of that puzzle.
100.
Like if you had to go and engineer every little piece yourself, you'd probably spend a lot more than the $30,000 it takes to buy your everyday decent good car. So yeah, they handle all that for you and give you this nice small little dollar amount, and you can go out and buy yourself this machine of machines.
Yeah, I once saw somebody who was complaining about gas prices.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Do you realize it is taking you and 2 tons of metal 30 miles down the road
Mm-hmm.
for $2.50?"
Yep. You'd rather walk?
Like, could you imagine if you didn't have to have a hay wagon, like a Conestoga hay wagon with ox,
Yep.
to go 30 miles in a week?
Yep. Well, it's the price you pay
The
for
price you pay.
convenience.
Wonderful. The Brian question.
All right, just write it down for next week.
Yeah.
We'll hit it up next week. But yeah.
We're out of time, Joe.
Yeah, we're out of time. If you guys have any more questions, try and re-ask them next week. If they're questions that you feel sales and support could get answered for you, just reach out to the sales email or give us a call. And if you have a question about your tune through us, email the person that was tuning your car or send in a new email, and we can try and merge it and find your old ticket and stuff, because that's what everyone likes to do. And yeah. You can look forward to seeing us as soon as next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Most likely next Wednesday.
I think we'll be
same
here.
time, 2 o'clock.
It's Shady's birthday.
Dang.
Happy birthday.
So birthday boy may or may not be here to do birthday festivities with us.
Cake.
Cake day.
Guys, thanks for watching.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support.
Remember,
Go read some legislature. Go read
yeah.
the
So what
RP
was the document you were talking about that's being pushed through in Arizona right now?
amicus brief.
So
PRI published it today.
amicus brief. Look at that. Look up the RPM Act. Get yourself familiarized with it. Get in contact with your state legislators. Implore them to. I think that's the right word.
Implore.
Implore them to do what they can to make sure that gets dropped in the top of people's desks. This needs to be a top priority for our industry. It may not be something that's like an issue for everyone right now. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of other political topics and agendas going on.
This industry has 4
But-
million people working in it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we're not important. I'm just saying that some people may disagree with how we feel about this.
True.
I feel very strongly that that's step one to making all this reality for us, to making all of this, to at least make racing a legal defined thing.
Yep.
So yeah, please.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on the YouTube channel. We got plenty of these videos all archived. You can go watch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, until then, see you guys on the next one.
Bye, kids.